Thank you all. Thank you everybody for taking out your time. Thank you all for joining us in our farm space tonight. It really means a lot to us that we, on this platform, we're really gonna learn a lot about artificial insemination and also about bulls. Uh, I'm gonna ask that each and every one of our speakers they introduce themselves. I'll first start by introducing myself. My name is Ole Lekgeto. I'm a farmer from the northwest, uh, from a very small town called Lakeso. I farm with cattle, mainly Bonsmara. I also farm with chickens. I farm with vegetables, and I also do a bit of small stock. So I'm gonna ask that each and every one of our speakers, they just introduce themselves. I'm first gonna start with Ntaten Kosinati, who's one of our speakers who will be speaking about bulls. I'm gonna ask that he introduce himself and tell us who he is, where he comes from, what does he do, and all of that. Ntaten Kosinati, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ole. I must say, I find it interesting that you say I must say where I am from and all of that. I have no idea where I come from. But quickly, before I make the introduction, can I just request that maybe Ukuku allows Metumelo as a presenter as well? Now, having said that, I am indeed Nkosina Tibareki. I am a researcher in the Department of Agriculture, and Rural Development in the Northwest Province. Particularly, I'm working in the Animal Science Division. My particular interests are in animal breeding and in applied animal production in general. My work background includes quite a number of varying species. My first assignment was actually working with pigs, and so over the years I graduated into working with one particular species. But now I'm also trying to work as general as I can. But my specific interests are in animal breeding. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Ntate Nkosinati, for that introduction. I'm now also going to ask Ntate Joel Nkuna, who's an AI specialist. He comes from a company called Nkunzi Genetics. He's also one of the specialists in the industry. Unfortunately, Ntate Nkuna does not have a Twitter account. He's going to be speaking from the handle of one of our colleagues and farmer, Miss Ipileng Kwadi. And by the way, it's Miss Ipileng's birthday today. Happy birthday, Miss Kwadi. We hope you had a beautiful day. But having said that, can I ask that Ntate Nkuna also introduce himself? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ntate Ole. Good evening, farmers, fellow farmers. My name is Joel Nkuna from a company called Nkunzi Genetics. Nkunzi Genetics is a livestock improvement company formed to help farmers to become more efficient and profitable by genetically improving their animals and by providing information systems and technology that makes it easier to farm with livestock. This company was formed in 2014, farmers. So I think most of you, you know me from a company called Taurus, Livestock Improvement Company. So we started this Nkunzi Genetics in 2014, so to help farmers with this technology called artificial insemination. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ntate Nkuna, for that introduction. And also one of our speakers is one of our youngest farmers in the country, Ntate Thabo Ditakwe. I'm going to ask that he also introduce himself. Ntate Thabo, over to you.
Good evening, farmers. My name is Thabo Ditakwe, well known as Youngest Farmer RSA. I'm a young farmer based in the Northwest Province in a small village called Morokweng. I am a stockman. I farm with cattle, mainly Bonsmara cattle. I farm with goats, which are your boar goats. I farm with sheep, which I do crossbreeding between Van Rooijs and Dorpers. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you, farmers. Looking forward to the session.
Thank you for that, Tate Tabo. Can I Google Tate Bareki had requested that we please make Umis Kekana, Miss Tumelo Kekana, also one of the speakers. I would also like her to introduce herself, if possible, please.
All right, we'll do so, Ole. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's just wait for Google to put Miss Kekana as one of the speakers to be able to introduce herself. Then we can start with the business of the day. Thank you. All right. In the meantime, while maybe Google is doing that, I think we should start with the business of the day, whilst Google is still just trying to sort out those issues. My first, I think most of us are very much excited and interested in this thing of called artificial insemination. So I'm gonna ask that Ntate Kuna tell us exactly what is artificial insemination, how is it done, and the process and so. Over to you, Ntate Kuna.
Thank you, Ndade. Artificial insemination, in short, AI, is a technique in which semen is collected from the male, and that semen is evaluated, preserved, and then later on it can be it can inseminate a cow. So that means that we collect the semen from the bull, we store it in liquid nitrogen, and which you can store it indefinitely there, and thereafter you wait for a cow so that it comes on heat. And when you are sure that the cow is on heat, then you take that semen and you place it manually inside the reproductive tract of a female. This is basically how artificial insemination is done then. I don't know if I must touch on the advantages, Mr. Ngade Ole.
Yes, be my guest, please, sir.
Okay, so, well, to a farmer, in terms of using artificial insemination instead of natural mating, why is that? The advantages of artificial insemination, I could tell that the major one over natural mating is the control of spreading the venereal diseases by avoiding the direct contact between males and females, and only using clinically tested semen. We don't just take any kind of semen from wherever people that they'll be having and then inseminate the cow. You have to make sure that it has been clinically tested. And in doing that, you also reduce or eliminate the cost or associated with a bull or maintaining a bull. As we know, sometimes bulls can be dangerous. Né? So yeah, using AI is one of those advantages that you can get. And AI also allows more efficient use of estrus synchronization, which is a process of breeding cows over a short period of time instead of waiting for a normal cycle. As we know that normally a cow cycle every 3 weeks. Né? So for an example, if you have maybe 10 cows and you want to breed them in one day, you can do that with AI. But a bull cannot do that. It can maybe make 2 or 1, 2, 3 animals per day. So with AI, you can make up to 100 cows in a single day. How do you do that? You just inject the hormones and you wait for some few days, and thereafter, on certain day, all of your animals, majority of them, let's say 90 to 80% of them will be on heat. Then you just inseminate without detecting heat on them. And the other advantage I like about AI is that a semen that has been collected, you can store it indefinitely. Let's say you collect it today, the bull that has been producing well, giving you nice heifers, then you know that you also want to preserve that that bloodline. You can do that, collect the semen and then store it inside liquid nitrogen and use it maybe after 10, 15, or even 20 years. So yeah, those are some of the advantages of AI. And as we know that, we also know that in terms of the cost of the, buying a bull, most of the stud bulls at the auctions today, they are very costly. But using artificial insemination, you can use that same bull with less amount. So that way, I think, is the best way to go than buying an expensive bull. Crossbreeding, you can also do it very efficiently with artificial insemination. You don't have to buy different bulls in one head. You only just go and buy semen. So that way, I think it can help. It can help a lot in doing that. As we know that AI is also very cost effective and it doesn't have side effects. Thank you, Ntate.
Thank you very much, Ntate Nkuna. That was very, very informative. Now I'm gonna be hopping between Ntate Nkuna and Ntate Tabo and Ntate Nkosinati. As you know, these things they go hand in hand together. My question now would be go to Ntate Nkosinati, because remember, before you can do AI, you need to have selected the bull. Now I'm gonna ask Ntate Nkosinati to please tell us what is the importance of a bull and how do you choose a suitable bull for your head. Thank you, Ntate Nkosinati.
Greetings again, folks. I think this is now where we get into the crux of it. I'm hoping that Mekekana would be allowed as a speaker, because we would then be handling this topic together. But while that is still continuing in the background, maybe I should then try and get into the crux of it. I think we need to look at the topic and see what is it that we can squeeze out of this topic of bull selection. And for me to be able to squeeze something out of bull selection, I think I want to ruffle some feathers and say, maybe for tonight, let us talk about head sire selection. Head sire selection, head for head of cattle, and sire being the bull sire written S-I-R-E. And my reasons are as follows. You would know, folks, that when you move around, say in a village, you can see very often along the road an animal with the attributes of a male animal, and here I'm referring to cattle. So the animal looks to you like a bull. It has all the necessary attributes of a bull. And if we say bull selection, maybe somebody might be thinking about that particular animal. Now I want to move and shift the focus a little bit to say, for us as young people today, let us forget about a bull. Of course, we'll be mentioning a bull, and I'll be using these interchangeably. But let's talk about the sire, because I want to put it to you today that a sire is more than a bull. A bull it has 4 legs, eyes, mouth or muzzle. It has a scrotum with testicles inside. It has a sheath, and it's a bull. It's functional. But a sire is something different. The focus now on the sire brings us to the purpose. What is the purpose for us to look into this particular bull, to be interested in this particular bull? We look at it with our farming objectives in mind. The one you see next to the road with all the attributes does not have the farming objectives in mind. Now we look at that with the farming objectives in mind. And I think I just want to check quickly whether We've allowed Mekekan. I see Mekekan is not yet a presenter. Now you've missed on having her present this part. This is the part that she was going to present. Mekekana was going to present objectives. Now that I've spoken about the objectives, she was going to zoom into objectives. And from what she tells me, a farmer would want a bull for 3 reasons. One of those reasons may be a bull to use on heifers. Another reason could be a bull to use on producing or breeding replacement heifers. Now there's a difference. A bull to use on heifers, the heifers are existing already. A bull to breed replacement heifers, you want the certain attributes from the bull, and you want those attributes to be on the heifers that the bull would be breeding. Right. The third one, Mekekana says, could be a bull for terminal crossbreeding. Now, folks, as we go on, I might here and there introduce words that are not common in our daily vocabulary. You're more than welcome when it comes to question session to ask, but what did you mean about that? And we'll break it down. So we said a farmer may need a bull for 3 reasons. A bull that would be used on heifers, that bull would be opening heifers. These heifers have never been mated before, they've never been pregnant before. So we want to be very careful. We want to be very careful when we breed them, because here we require high calving ease from the bull. And remember, the bull never gives a calf, but the bull carries the genes that would influence calving ease on the progeny that will be born by this heifer. Here we're talking about then the weight of the calves as they are born and their size as they are born. The bull should carry genes that do not produce a large calf when it is born, mainly because these heifers have never calved. Furthermore, now it is important for me to mention that these traits, if you're looking for calving ease, there is also a trait that is likely to suffer. The traits for calving ease and the traits for growth of the calf are usually opposing. Those who are in my field would be saying they have an antagonistic relationship, meaning as you improve the other suffers. Right, let's move forward. Now we want low birth weight on the heifers, so we would be looking into a bull that does that. It becomes an objective in a way. The second one that we spoke about breeding replacement heifers. What is it that you require from a bull that you're going to buy to produce replacement heifers? Again, any other bull is a bull, but for a head sire, no, it's different. For a head sire, you require high fertility from the bull at the genetic level, because he is now going to produce heifers for you that you want to keep in your head to enlarge your head. You also want this bull to be carrying genes for good milk, because these heifers that you are going to be producing need to produce enough milk for better calf growth and average maintenance in general. So you want a bull that is not going to produce heifers that are too large, which would be requiring a lot of feed. So these aspects need to be looked at all times when you want to buy a bull. The third one would be what I mentioned, a bull for terminal crossbreeding. What is a terminal crossbreeding? Now, terminal because we are not keeping any offspring of this bull. Now, your objectives differ immediately when you want a bull for terminal breeding as opposed for breeding replacement heifers and so on. Why? Because whatever the bull breeds, you want to sell. And what is it that you want now with a terminal bull? You want maximum growth of the calves. Remember, we are talking about a head sire, but we are more interested in what the head sire is going to bring for us genetically, so that the calves are actually our point of interest as much as we're looking at the head sire. The progeny that comes from the sire is our point of interest. Now, fertility, for an example that I spoke about earlier, when I spoke about replacement of heifers and milk ability or milk genes, we would not be terribly worried about them on a terminal sire. Why? Of course, because we're not going to keep his progeny. We want the progeny to grow as quick as hell, and we sell the progeny, we make money, we put money into the pocket. So our objectives then would differ. We would look at these sires differently. But please note, particularly for terminal crossbreeding, these sires usually are only used on fully grown or crossbred cows. We do not want to ever use them on heifers because most of the bulls that have massive growth at the genetic level, they tend to also carry a gene for large calves at birth, meaning if you use them indiscriminately, you might have problems. You're likely to have these causing difficult calving or dystocia in your head. So what then do we say to conclude these 3 points? Breeding of cattle is never simple. Two bulls with the same weaknesses and strengths may have a different selection value. So consider what I said above. I think now that we have outlined the choices would be, or what would influence the choices in our head sire, I would like quickly to pose a question to our wonderful participants, if you allow me, Ole, just to make sure that I'm not talking by myself. And only 2 or 3 responses may be accepted. Is that okay with you, Ole? Hello, anybody?
Hello, we hear you, Ntate Nkosinathi.
Yes. Is that okay? Can I ask a question?
Yes, you can, Ntate Nkosinathi.
Thank you.
This is actually just a dialogue, so it's allowed. Thank you, Ntate Nkosinathi.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. For a moment there, I thought I'm talking to myself. Remember, I must quickly put out this disclaimer. It's my complete first time on Twitter, so I'm not completely sure whether I'm with you or I'm not with you, but I'm convinced that I am with you. So and I jumped in on Twitter only to share these insights with you. Here's my question. When we look at the bull, either visually or when we look at the breeding values, I would like 1 or 2 people to tell me what is the most important thing that we need to remember when we look at the bull or when we look at breeding values, or maybe I should ask it this way. What exactly is it that we see when we look at the bull?
Maybe Tabo can answer that question.
Greetings again. I would like Mr. Bareki to repeat his questions again.
Yes, indeed. Tabo, by the way, greetings, homie. I'm sure you and I are a few meters apart from each other or away from each other. The question is, when we look at a bull, a head sire in particular, visually, or using breeding values, whatever you choose, what is the most important thing to remember? Or what is it that we see when we look at it? And there's no right answer.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Bareki, for the question. Remember, when you look at a bull visually, it must look like a bull. It must intimidate you. That will tell you that this is a bull. The other thing that we look at is the color on the neck to show you the darker the neck, the high levels of libido. So we say that this bull has libido and will be able to mate. The other thing that we look at is I think these are the reproductive organs, which is your testes or the testes or the scrotum. Sorry, the scrotum. They have to be equally located. They have to be balanced. They have to be large. On average, if I'm not mistaken, they should have a circumference of about 35 centimeter. One other thing that you look at when it comes to breeding values or whatever in the indexes, we look for milk, we look for fertility, we look for the growth of it. I think that comes down to ADGs, it comes down to what we call indexes. Your indexes have to be more than 90 on average. But I don't want to get off topic. I think I will just break down everything on AI. I think that's for Mr. Bareki, but I think I've answered your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, brother. And remember, I said there's no wrong or right answer. Now, number one, I asked the question just to make sure that I'm not talking to myself. Number two, I asked the question because I want today to bring in a paradigm shift into the question of looking at the bull or looking at breeding values. And I am not at all saying you are right. You mentioned all the right attributes. But I want, as a part of a paradigm shift for us today, when you look at a head sire, remember always that you're looking at 50% of the genetic makeup that you're going to be putting into your head. Now, let me repeat that. 50% of the genetic makeup that you're going to be putting into your head. Now, all these attributes that Thabo mentioned are very important, and these attributes, you sure that at least half of them, 50%, would get into the progeny. So if there's weakness in any of the attributes that Thabo has mentioned, you already know that if there's weakness already in what I see, have that attribute. For an example, he spoke of attributes related to fertility, which would be the darkening of the forecourt and so on. Now, if that attribute is less pronounced in the bull that you're looking at, have that, and you are going to expect even less on the progeny. Now, let's jump in onto then what is it that we should be looking at. The two important things that I would like to mention, I often say to farmers, when you go to buy a bull, you do not wake up in the morning, put on your khaki shorts and your fell schooner and go jump into your bakkie, preferably a certain brand, but I won't get into that today, and go to the auction. You don't do that. You first spend time with your cows in the kraal, because the cows must be telling you what type of bull is necessary for your establishment. So any farmer who never went to the kraal before they went to buy a bull, when you go, say, 3 days before and you look at your cows, and 3 days later you go look for a bull, I say change that approach. At least within 24 hours, look at your cows again so that they can send you a message to say this is the type of bull we are looking at, or we are needing. What are you looking at? You look at the things that you do not prefer or like with the cow head, and you expect the coming bull to come and improve those. That is visual. Now, we move beyond that. We need to move beyond what we see, because what we see is not necessarily what the animal possesses. We need to look into estimated breeding values, and estimated breeding values are estimations of what is it that at the genetic level this animal will be able to give us. Right, moving then along with the EB values, I'm not going to try and explain EB values today, estimated breeding values. We can do that some other time. But let us say you are now, remember Tabo said the bull must intimidate you a little bit when you get into it, but that intimidation must not be to a point whereby this saying by Joe, Datenkuna, Joe said, remember, bulls can be dangerous. Now that intimidation should not be intimidation that is dangerous, but it should look to you like this bull means business. You can't get into a kraal and spend 5 seconds and the bull has not looked at you. That bull is useless. Listen now to what I'm telling you. We're moving from that. Now, visually, the bull should look this. We're not going to get into that today. We're getting into the fundamentals of what is it that you look at in terms of a head sire. And then later, I'm sure we have another platform where we now critically look at the attributes of a head sire that you look at. Now, with breeding values, you at least know what genetic makeup you are expecting. So remember, I said the cows have told you what bull they want. Now you don't go and jump into your backyard. No. You go and look into the sales catalog in the comfort of your home, in the comfort of your house. You look at the sales catalog and say to yourself, the cows are saying, in terms of their attributes, I need to be improving the head along these lines. And you look at what is it that you want to improve in terms of breeding values, and you identify the bulls that you want to buy from that auction already in your office, in the comfort of your house. You scratch out bulls that do not give you or are not going to give you attributes that the cows told you are necessary. Once you have eliminated these bulls that you do not want, you now can jump on your buggy and go to the auction. By the way, never turn back on the choice you made on your dinner table, on your study, when you chose or deselected a bull and said, I'm not interested on this one because of these breeding values. Please, when you go and see the bull and it looks wonderful, do not change on your decision. Why? Because what you see is not always what you get. What you get is in the EB values. What am I saying? Paradigm shift. You look at the bull, 50% of that, both at breeding value and both at visual. But selection of bulls should be based on very important aspects. And let me move quickly to why am I making this emphasis. We need bulls of superior genetic qualities because the genes are going to be transferred to the animals or to the head, and the genes that we want, say we want growth, we are responding to what the market requires, or we are responding to the objectives. Now, what else do we need? Reproductive soundness of this bull. Now, the reproductive soundness of this bull is important for what reason? So that they can produce adequate quantity of good quality semen, so that they have the capacity and the desire to serve the females. So I said it is important to look at a few attributes, and if those attributes do not talk anything about reproductive soundness or superior genetic qualities, think about it. Are they really important? Of course, we need a bull that is structurally sound. Now look at the way in which I've put these three particular points. I hope I've not lost my audience. I hope I've not lost my audience. Ole, have I lost my audience? Anybody have
I
I
think
lost my
Ole is
audience?
having. Hi, Nkosnasi. I think Ola's having technical difficulties. You haven't lost us at all. We're having such an amazing time and a session. You're breaking down everything for us newbies who don't even understand anything about bulls and what to look for in auctions. And you touched on a very important part that I think I would like to ask Mr. Nkuna to maybe elaborate further on when you're speaking about AI and in terms of the market. So now do we use AI, Mr. Nkuna, specifically because we want to compete with the market, or do we use AI because we want to be ahead? We forecasting that bulls need to be a certain way, and we are kind of thinking ahead. Mr. Nkuna?
I think, Gugu, thank you very much. Before Mr. Nkuna jumps in, Mr. Nkuna, prepare your answer. I just needed to check whether I'm talking to myself, and I'm happy. Thank you, Tino, for the thumbs up. Thank you, Msima. Thank you for the vote of confidence. A bull must be structurally sound because the bull must be able to walk the distance to go mate these animals. The bull must be able to work extensively a distance to go feeding. So here are the three important things: superior genetics, reproductive soundness, and structural soundness. Now, I'm wrapping up, folks. I'm wrapping up, and I hope I did not take too much of your time. And in wrapping up, I think I must say it is important for producers to define clearly what market they are breeding for. Folks, what market are you breeding for? And then determine the breeding objectives that would satisfy that particular market. But irrespective of the market, irrespective of everything, while you're still thinking about that, traits that you use for selection of a head sire or a bull for whatever the market is must at least be of economic importance. Why? Because this is a business. Farming is a business. You must make money out of your breeding program. Secondly, they must be of reasonable heritability. What am I talking about? Reasonable heritability means that they should be transferable from the bull to the progeny. If they're not transferable from the bull to the progeny, then it's useless. You're wasting your time selecting for that trait. Thirdly, the bull must be measurable. Remember what Prof. Bonsma said? What did Prof. Bonsma say to us about measuring? I am asking this question. You would respond in your own different space what he said, and coming back to this point, if we cannot measure it, then we are not able to know whether we're making progress from one point to the other. That is what Prof. Bonsma said when he said, om te meet is om te weet. That is Afrikaans that is saying, for you to know, you need to measure. Men must measure to be able to get knowledge. Moving along, the fourth and last one, there must be variation in the trait, because if there's no variation, if there's no difference, let's say the color of a breed. Now, I'm not trying to talk any breed different to the other, but let's take the Bonsmara, because my reason would be the Bonsmara is the largest breed that I know of in the country. Now, the Bonsmara color is brown throughout. Now, it would not help to select for brown when there isn't much variation in brown. And it would not help for selecting for brown, because is there really a measure that you can put on this brown? Is it of economic importance? Folks, with that being said, I think the rest we can explain or expand when we get questions. I've grown tired of my own voice now. I would like to hear other people saying something. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Ntatenko Sinati. That was very informative, and we've really learned a lot from what you're saying. Now that we've selected the bull, we know what we're looking for, and we're now getting ready to inseminate. I would like Ntatenkuna to tell us about how the process of preparing the cow. I know earlier he spoke about hormones, and then he must just tell us the process of doing the actual semen and then putting it in the cow. And also, I would also like him to touch on the points of what are the chances of the animal being positive for pregnancy, and also he must also touch on when he speak about the chances of the animal falling the chances of percentages of the animal falling pregnant. He must also touch on the issue of fresh semen and frozen semen. Thank you very much. I would like to hand over to Ntate Nkuna. Thank
Thank you, Ntate Lekgetho. Well, I could start with the process of AI. No? Well, most of the time, I always tell my farmers that before we can start this whole process, first, let's make sure that we feed our animals correctly, and thereafter, we have to inject them. We have to vaccinate them. For example, we use the multimins and vitamins A, D, and E. So those are very important before you can start this whole process. So, and if we are sure that we've done that process, then we can start the whole process of synchronization now. So you have to make sure that the infrastructure also it's in good condition, because without restraining the animals, you can't do AI on them. So those other attributes that I've just mentioned now, I think they boost your conception rate at the end of the day. So, and in terms of fresh, the difference between fresh and the frozen semen, you can use both of them. But the advantage of the frozen semen is that it can last longer. But this fresh semen, I think you have only the chances of using it maybe a day or two, and thereafter, well, the semen, I think by that time it will be destroyed. So the conception, I don't think it will work well on that one then. And the conception, in terms of conception rate, how do you get the animal 100% then? I think the attributes that I've just mentioned before, those ones are the ones that they boost your conception rate. I think I've answered you almost. There's something that I've missed in Ntate Lekgetho.
Can I please add on something there?
No,
if you
I
don't
think
mind, Ole?
no, it's okay. Go ahead, Gugu.
So I just wanted to remind everyone that the floor is open. So please request to be a speaker if you want to ask questions. I actually have a question currently. Mr. Nkuna, you're speaking about frozen semen and fresh semen. Where do we buy the semen?
Fortunately, we work with these big companies. We supply the semen ourselves. We have a company that we work hand in hand with, which is a company that, it's a South African company, but most of the semen, they also come from overseas. So you can get semen from Kunzi Genetics, ma'am, and also artificial insemination apparatus also.
So then how do we regulate that, we are buying semen from a trusted, service provider?
Yes, ma'am. The company, actually, this whole industry of artificial insemination is regulated. So the companies that provide the semen, they are regulated, and all the semen that they're providing, it has been tested, and I don't think you'll have a problem with it unless it comes from those people that they collect themselves, which are not registered. And then, those ones that I can't talk with regard to them.
Ntate Nkuna, I would have a follow-up question. What are the costs related to artificial insemination in terms of the whole synchronization? When you're saying you're synchronizing the cow, what are the costs related to that? And then also my other question would be the semen itself. How do they sell it, and how is it done? How do they sell it? The cost related to that. Thank you.
Okay. Ntate Lekgetho, the semen, well, the cost of artificial insemination to a cow, I think it differs. Ne? It depends who does it. If you are doing it on your own, then you know that you are just going to buy semen and then it will be around 200, 300 rands there. But if it's someone who's going to do it for you, then because you have to synchronize the cows, I think per cow it can run at about between 800 and 900 rand per animal. Those are the costs that I could break down as this. For hormones, which they run at about 450 per animal. The semen differs, they start from 200 to 350 depending on the bull or breed that you'll be using. And the other prices, just took the average price that Nkunzi Genetics is asking. The Nkunzi Genetics is asking for just to prepare the animal and to inseminate. It's asking for 200. It's 250 rand per cow, excluding transport. Transport, it depends how far are you. That one, it's negotiable depending on the distance on that one. So that's why I say the price it comes at plus minus 800 rand per cow per animal. Yeah. If someone is doing it for
Well,
you,
thank you
you
very
are
much.
not.
All right. Thank you very much. Gugu, I see we've got about two speakers. I think they've got questions for Ntate, for our speakers. I see Ntate Nick Pence and Miss and Palesa. So maybe we could give a platform. Can I ask that Nick ask his question, please?
Hi, good evening. I've just got a couple of comments to make on artificial insemination. No questions at this stage. I'm a farmer, mixed farming operation just outside Darling on the west coast, just from Cape Town. We've been in the cattle industry for my fifth generation in the cattle industry, previously in dairy farming, but now in beef farming. And artificial insemination is one of the tried and tested ways of creating genetic progress within your herd of cows. Whereas you can, the offspring from mating is essentially the bettering of genetics. 50% of that betterment of genetics comes from the mother, and then 50% from the father, from the sire. The advantage, obviously, of artificial insemination is that you don't have to have the bull on site. You can actually use frozen semen from Canada or America or Europe, from around the world, where there are much bigger populations of cattle and where there's been a greater advancement in genetics and improvement in the genetic traits like weight gain, phenotype, and so on. So you can bring the best genetics from around the world into your own herd by applying artificial insemination. There are a couple of ways of applying artificial insemination. You've got to do heat detection. There are aids that can help you in heat detection to see when a cow comes on heat. A cow will show heat every 21 days. Essentially, once you've seen the heat, 6 hours later, you'll do the insemination, which is the placing of the semen in the uterine horn. The other way of doing it is through synchronization, where you can get a vet in and you can synchronize the cows or heifers to all come on heat at the same time, which is often much easier because then you can do multiple inseminations on a whole lot of animals in one go. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, artificial insemination is one of the tools for breeding cattle, a very, very good tool. It should be used in conjunction with having a bull on the farm. Not only do AI, but you should have a resident bull as well. So what we do is we do a synchronization round where we will synchronize a whole lot of females to come on heat together, and we'll do all the inseminations on the same day. And then 2-3 weeks later, we'll actually put those same animals to the bull to make sure that they do fall pregnant. And generally, we get about a 50% take from the synchronization program with artificial insemination. So that really works well for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nick. Points that was taken. It's good that when you say that in your head, you could be able to have genetics that come as far as Brazil and America and all over the world. I think that's a good thing to know. Ms. Palisa, you may speak or you may make your comment or ask your question. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I have a question for Ntate Nkuna. I heard him say something about them having instruments. So I just want to find out: do they actually sell the instruments for artificial insemination? And if they do, is it for both small stock and large stock, or is it only large stock artificial insemination instruments? And also, do they have a website that we can access where we can buy the instruments? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Palisa. Mr. Nkuna, please respond to the question.
Oh, thank you, Mepalesa. I'm not sure if I heard you well. You were talking about the instrument or instruments. If it's instruments, then it means it's apparatus. Yes, we do sell them, and you can our website. We do have a problem with our website and all these social media sites. That's why I'm using my sister Ipileng's a Twitter account. So yes, our website address is Nkunzi Gen. Nkunzi NKUNZIGEN.co.za. So yes, you can also log in there and see our services, what we do there. And the other thing that I didn't mention is we also provide DIY trainings of artificial insemination. Those that are interested, they can also contact us. I think we'll be able to leave our numbers after the show. Thank you. I think I've answered you.
Yes, you have. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you so much. I see the questions are coming in, but I want Tabo to maybe just enlighten us on his experience with AI, because most of us have seen him, actually do the artificial insemination. Just tell us about that procedure and the costs involved, and I know we spoke about the benefits, but also maybe let's speak about the disadvantages. Tabo.
All right. Thank you, Gugu. I think most of the speakers have covered actually what I wanted to cover for today. But I would like to tell you a short story. I think from my journey of farming, especially farming from a communal land. I remember when we were farming on communal. Uh, One thing that caught my attention was the growth and the genetic makeup of the animals that we had on communal. I mean, they had poor milk. The structure was quite small. I remember when, like, every time when we went to auction, we were like, no man, these auctioneers are cheating us. We're doing whatever. I think we're doing what most of the farmers are doing actually. Why are we getting so low prices for our livestock? Then I remember I got a mentorship from Mr. Heinrich Prouver from Grandview, Bramans. I remember when I used to do cattle shows with him, when I used to visit his farm, he used to source uh, semen from far as America, from one of these famous bloodlines called the Sugarland bloodlines. That's when I knew, okay, there's something called AI. And I'm a communal farmer, and you know what happens in communal. Our neighbors, neighbors use. There could be about five farmers around, but maybe one farmer there has a bull, and now this bull is forced to mate with all cattle of these five farmers. So let's say each farmer has about 20, 20 cattle. So that bull has to cover all 100 or let's say 80 cattle, which is too much for the bull when it comes to bull to cow ratio. But then I realized that okay, this AI could work for communal farmers who cannot afford to buy bulls. I think for now, bulls on average, I think at Lamus Bonsmara, the lowest price for a bull was about 65,000. So imagine how much you'll be spending for that. Spending a 65,000 bull for only, let's say, 10 cattle. Then I realized, okay, no, I think with AI it could work out, especially with the rapid genetic improvement on the herd. Then I realized, okay, you can spend less than 5 grand, just to work on that 10 cattle. I mean, remember we are coming from communal farmers, and from communal communities, so we don't have that amount of money to spend for a bull. But using AI, you are able to be ahead of the game. Remember, guys, we need to catch up with with science and technology, and that's where AI comes in. I mean, the cost for the service alone, let's say for 10, like Mr. Nkuna said, for 10 cattle could be about 8 rand to service the cow. The semen could be more or less 200,000. I mean 200 rand. Sorry. Uh, I think within a 100-kilometer range, you could be paying about 5 rand per kilo, which will cost you, okay, what the synchronization as well will cost you less than 5,000. I think let me cover the disadvantages. I think with AI, it requires highly skilled AI specialists or inseminators. It is also labor intensive. Remember, when you synchronize these animals, you need to have people that have to observe these cattle when they come on heat. We have what we call the preheat. When these cattle they mount on each other. We have the true heat. When the cow that's on true heat can will allow the other cow to mount on it. We have the post weaning. I mean the post heat, where the cow won't allow other cows to mount on it, and normally uh, cattle or cows that are on heat, or that are on true heat, they will normally stand next to a bull, because they want to be mounted. Uh, and also, I think it is also it also requires a lot of feed. I mean, a lot of feed to maintain the condition of this cattle. Remember, a cow needs to have a body score of at least 4, in order to allow a bull to mount it. I think also that's one of the disadvantages. It's not an advantage, but I think with good management, yes, nutrition is very important, to actually manage and follow up with this AI program. I think also, it's time consuming. I would say it's time consuming, but also I think it has more advantages than the disadvantages, because remember, in communal lands, people when they go to auctions, they'll be selling about two bull cows. Then after 2 months, they sell another two bull cows. It's really costly. I mean, you need to hire a trailer, you need to buy diesel and all of that. But with AI, you can get uniform calves. When it's always nice. When you go to an auction, uh, maybe you need to book a truck for about 30 winners, and when you leave an auction with about 240,000, I think it brings joy, and it brings joy to the farmer, and say, okay, yeah, I'm doing things correctly. And as well, with AI, we can prevent diseases such as fibriosis, trichomoniasis. I think these are tough words for upcoming farmers, but I think there's questions. If there's questions, I think after the session, I'm more than welcome to answer the questions. But I think AI also helps with this AI with these diseases. With communal farmers, imagine buying a 400,000 bull. You are using it on communal, and remember, you're not the only one on that farm, on that land. So imagine if that 400,000 bull goes and mount, uh, let's say, a cow with brucellosis, and that very remember, the bull is a carrier, so that bull goes there and transmit, or yeah, and transmit the brucellosis, to these cattle that are on these communal lands. So imagine we'll be having a case of brucellosis, and with brucellosis, it's a 50-50 situation. I think by now you need to accept that you need to sell your whole herd. So imagine losing your whole herd because of that one bull that contracted or that carries the brucellosis disease. So I think AI will save a lot of communal farmers, and emerging farmers. I think they'll be way ahead of the game. I think they will be catching up with some of us who are already well established, not well established, but yes, who are established. But I think the speakers have covered everything that I wanted to say. But if there's any other questions after the session, you are more than welcome to ask, and I'll answer. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Tabo. I've got 2 points I need you to cover. You spoke about a lot of speakers, Tate Nkuna, Tate Bareki, spoke about transporting semen and storage. How do you transport this semen and how do you store this semen? I would also like you to touch on that. And then I think the follow-up question will come after you answer that.
With AI, remember, we have equipments. We have what we call, I don't know, it's not the canister, it's the liquid nitrogen tank, which stores nitrogen. And these stores are stored at minus 196 degrees. The semen is in a tank, and normally what the AI specialist will leave with that tank to that specific farm. And remember, with AI, you need to work under a shade. Once that semen gets into contact with sunlight, the semen is dead. So I think also that's one of the disadvantages. This thing requires high, what we call high, yeah, it needs high qualified specialists, AI specialists to conduct this thing. But it's not really tough to, I mean, in terms of transporting, but that canister, I mean, it costs about, I think a brand new canister can cost you about 12,000 rand. But I think when you have such equipment, and when you have, I remember I attended a course at Potchefstroom for AI, and that's when I learned that you can have a bull. I think you yourself as a farmer can become a bull on your own farm, as long as you have your own equipment, such as your pistolet, your nitrogen tank, your plastic sheath, your sheath, your straws as well, which you have sourced, I think, from America or from Ntate Nkuna. I think with the total budget for everything can cost you up to 25 grand. And the nice thing is, with these cement straws, you can store them for up to 50 years. I mean, you can have bulls as far as from 1980s. I was not born by then, but there's people that are inseminating those semen that was sourced from those bulls from 1980. I think that's a nice thing about AI. And as well, remember, when you buy the 1.8 million rand bull, and let's say maybe it gets injured. Remember, the bull uses most of its hindquarters, I think the muscle on the hindquarters, to mount on a bull. So imagine if that 1.8 million bull gets injured on one of the legs, then you don't have a bull they'll be able to mount. But with AI, you can collect that semen and that fresh semen and inseminate it on 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 uh, on the cow. So you become the middleman. You become the middleman. I think also that's one of the advantages, of storing the semen, because now as much as insurance companies are becoming expensive now to insure the bull, but at least when you have semen of that 1.8 million bull, if the bull dies tomorrow, then you know that at least you have sourced semen from it and it is stored in your nitrogen tank. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tabo. That's
I seen that.
Abram Apple Green would like to ask. Abram, you may proceed with your question, please. Black Monopoly, are you
Mr.
there in
Black
that Apple Green?
Monopoly.
Okay. Having said that, I've got a question that I it can be covered by either Ntate Nkuna or Tabo or Ntate Baregi or Miss Kekana. The question relates to the importance of now before we do any AI with regards to the bulls, the importance of a seed wash and the tests that you have to do on a bull before you putting it to any females or before drawing any semen for the bull. Can anybody of our speakers try and cover on that? Thank you.
Hello, Ntate. Ke Joel. I think each and every farmer that is breeding naturally, number one, beside artificial insemination, before you can start breeding with a bull, you have to make sure that you've done the vaccinations, the vaccination program that I've mentioned before, and you have to invite a vet to your farm so that they can come and do the sheet wash and then draw the sample and then send it to the laboratory so that they can make sure that the bull is clean. And then thereafter, they give you the certificate that your bull is clean, then you can now start breeding with your bull. But in terms of artificial insemination, as long as the semen it comes from a reliable company, then you know that you don't have to worry about those things. That everything it has been done, the tests have been run, and all those things, so that you know that the semen that you are going to use is clinically tested. So you don't have to worry with regard to that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Is Ntate Black Monopoly able to speak now? Ntate Apple Green. I see he's still trying
I think
to.
he's gone.
Okay.
There's Opatile.
Is there anybody that would like to speak on something or ask a question to one of our speakers? The floor is you're more than welcome to pose a question. While that is still happening, I would like to pose a question to Utabo. Tabo, with regards to
Ole, sorry.
yes, ma'am.
Hi, Ole. Sorry, there is a speaker who wants to speak. Opatile is here.
Okay, thank you. He may proceed.
Opatile or Mr. Abraham.
Okay, while they're still doing that, I've got a question for Tabo. Can he please speak on the? Oh, there he is, Ntate Black Abraham. Ntate Abraham, you may proceed with your question. Thank you for your comment.
I don't see him here, Ole. I only see Opatile here, unless I don't know, maybe something is wrong with my.
Ole, he's Black Monopoly is just struggling with his network at the farm. Nah.
All right. Thank you. That Black Monopoly is
Right.
Palace Apple Green's father, by the way. They are a farming family. Tabo, my question to you was, can you please emphasize on the importance of testing not just your bulls, but also the females? Because remember, if your females are not okay with certain diseases that are related to infertility with regard to breeding, they will also play a bad effect on you not having calves. Can you please speak about brucellosis, please? Just briefly, Tabo. Thank you.
Thank you, Ole, for the question. Okay, sorry. I think with brucellosis, we have, remember these are animals. These STDs, which are in humans, we also have STDs and STIs in cattle. So with brucellosis, brucellosis is it's a disease, which causes miscarriages. Let's use this language. It's a miscarriage. Normally with brucellosis, the cow will be pregnant, for a period of 6 months, and at 6 months, the cow will have a miscarriage. So we have what we call brucellosis schemes, which are which are introduced. I think they've been there for quite some time at the department. So what I urge other farmers is that you need to make and build a good relationship with your extension officers, and your animal technicians. So it is a contagious abortion, actually. Yeah, it's a contagious abortion, where a cow which has contracted brucellosis will abort that specific calf. So normally, what we do, what calves, what heifers at 6 months, 4 to 6 months, we have what we call the strain 19 vaccine, which prevents brucellosis. We also have what we call, which can be vaccinated on older heifers, which is your RB51. I think normally these are vaccines which you can also source from your local department. And normally, this thing it's very contagious. Remember, okay, let's say you have about 30 cattle which are pregnant by then, and maybe your first cow has contracted this disease, and maybe you've bought it from your local auction, and this cow has not been tested, brucellosis free. Uh, so what will happen is, once this cow aborts, remember these cows are grazing now in the field, and you're not present. So this cow, let's say it gives birth in the camp at night, and normally when a cow calves, other cows come and they lick on that specific liquid, or fetus. So what happens, these other cows will also contract this brucellosis, and all these 29 cows will also abort. So that's what I'm saying. This thing is very, very serious, and 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 government as well, or the Department of Agriculture, is doing their part, to tackle this disease. So it is very, very important that every single year, or every time when you buy in a cow at an auction, normally at production sales, these cows they have been tested. But let's say you buy it at your local other auctions, so you need to isolate that cow in a different camp, and call in your vet to take blood samples and these tests will run, and you'll get your results within a week or two. And once it is tested positive, then you need to sell it. But also, as I have said, there are brucellosis schemes at the department, so you need to make contact with your local animal technician that every single year brucellosis tests are done on your farm to ensure that your cows or your herd is brucellosis free. I've covered your question, Ole. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Tabo. Just to add on to what you were saying, you would, for an example, you go and buy a good bull, you come and put it in your head, and then after some time, your animals they abort, or some of them are not even falling pregnant. Then you blame it on the bull. You go to Ntatenkuna, you call Ntatenkuna to come onto your farm to do his AI, and then you come and blame Ntatenkuna, not knowing that the problem is actually within your head. Like Tabo was saying, it's important that once a year you test all your females against brucellosis, and the ones that have tested positive, it's important that you cull them and you don't just resell them back to the auction. You have to take it to an abattoir, and you have to report to them at the abattoir that this cow has tested positive for brucellosis, because they've got a certain way where they dispose or they slaughter this animal. With having that done, I'd like to ask: is there anybody who would like to have a comment or who would like to have a question for any of our speakers before we are about to wrap up? Is there anything you wanted to say?
Ole, I'm just absorbing so much information here. I'm learning a lot. Mina, I'm fine. I've asked my questions. So anyone else on the show, listeners, if you have a question to ask our speakers, please don't be shy. This is a safe space. Just request to be a speaker and I'll accept, and then you are able to ask the questions directly. So on my side, thank you so much, speakers. We're really learning a lot.
Kuna, I've got a follow-up. I've got a question that somebody has just sent to me. I think he is struggling also with network. He's asking that one straw can of semen can do how many cows with one straw of semen? Or if you are using fresh semen, not frozen semen, you can inseminate how many cows? Thank you.
Thank you, Ndatelketo. With one straw, you can only inseminate one cow, unfortunately. And in terms of fresh semen, it depends on how did you packaged it. But we knew, because I've also used it before. It was also in the straw, so that means it's also one straw. We just call it one dose per cow. So yeah, that's how it goes there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ntate Nkuna. Can you please also speak about the trainings that you are offering for artificial insemination? Because as we can see, a lot of people are interested in this whole process. As you've spoken, you and Tabo have spoken about the advantages of it, especially for young and black emerging farmers. Please speak about the trainings that you are hosting and so on, and the cost related to your training, and how often and how do you do your trainings. Thank you, Tate Nkuna.
Thank you, Relgeto. In terms of trainings, we do offer DIY trainings, and we also offer on-farm trainings. And unfortunately, we don't have fixed dates for those trainings. We only present on request if we have a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 10. So that's when we start. And then normally we host our trainings around Gauteng. We host them at Northern Farm, which is just opposite Diepsloot. I don't know if you know this township called Diepsloot. There's a farm there opposite Diepsloot. It's just next to N14, Krugersdorp Highway. So, and the cost of those trainings we normally just, because sometimes we do get the youth who are mostly agricultural students, and for them we normally charge them 2,500 rand, and the farmers mostly we normally charge them 3,000 rand per. Well, the duration of the training, it takes about 3 days. So which first day we start by theory, and the next 2 days it's practical work. So yeah, that's how it goes then. Thank you.
Ole, I have a question here. Some people are struggling to become speakers. So I have a question
Okay.
for Mr. Nkuna. They just wanted to know if he goes outside of South Africa in terms of Eswatini in particular.
Oh yes, we don't have boundaries. We just travel where we are invited to come and work. So yeah, we work all over Africa. Let me put it that way then.
All right.
All right,
Thank you,
thank you.
Ntate Nkuna. I would like to say that Ntate Nkuna is his. I've got his contact details. Bubu has got his contact details. Ipeleng also has got his contact details. So if anybody is interested in doing the training or in getting him to come and do AI on their farm, you're more than welcome. You can DM me or DM Gugu or DM Tabo or DM Ipeleng. Then we would be able to give you his contacts. I think having said that, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the speakers and everybody that listened and tuned in to Farm Spaces. Metumelo Kekan, I would also like to thank you. I understand you've been struggling to connect as a speaker, but we would also like to thank you. Thank you so much for taking your time after work, because you and Ntate Bareki, you are at work, and also Ntate Nkuna. And Tabo, I understand you are busy with your school and your studies and everything, with your practicals. Thank you very much to everybody for all your time and all the information that was said. Indeed, Farm Space is a school. It's a class. Every Monday and Thursday we are in class and we are learning a lot. And in us learning, we are growing each other as farmers. And it's good to know that there's a lot of information amongst us farmers, and it's just circulating and helping each other grow. Gugu, I don't know if you've got anything to say. Thank you.
Yes, I do. Thank you so much, Ole. I know you and Ipeling and people from the group really started this topic, and I didn't know that it was such an important topic for all of us. Also emerging farmers who would like to understand how they can use technology and new ways to farm. So also thank you to our speakers, Datenati, Tabo as well, and Ipeleng. Also, thank you so much for hosting Drill there. Ole, you're amazing. Thank you so much for hosting this.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and good night, everybody.